Divine Intervention. By Orthoris. Chapter 5. At last, Ponyville. Atlas looked out of a window, watching the scenery pass by. He was currently aboard a train heading towards Ponyville together with Twilight Sparkle and her friends. Despite the amount of time he had been cooped up in the mountain, very little had changed about Equestria in his absence. It was still a naturally beautiful place filled with all kinds of flora and fauna, and the ponies were living with them in harmony. In fact, the only notable difference he's noticed since his return from his self-imposed exile is that small towns seem to have popped up everywhere. Originally Atlas offered to simply teleport every pony to Ponyville, as this wouldn't even put a strain on his mana reserves while being the fastest possible way back. For some unconceivable reason Celestia and the element bearers insisted rather vehemently on taking the train. Eventually Atlas gave in to their request and spent the time in the train looking out the window while running some calculations in his head in preparation for the main array he'd have to set up in Ponyville. He was sitting a respectable distance away from the element bearers, so he could be undisturbed in his thoughts. Although he had made it a point to not interact with the other passengers, there were two among them that quite obviously wanted to talk to him. One of them was Twilight Sparkle. Even though Atlas had done little more than berate her ever since they met, she seemed like she wanted to ask him at the very least 1,000,000 questions. A fact that was supported by the little blue book he was currently levitating before him. A lot of time had passed since he had come to Equus, and while one of his original goals was to meet the main six at some point, this particular objective became less important as time passed. After all, they were technically only part of a cartoon show he liked for just about 3 years as a human before coming here. Considering that more than 1,000 years had passed since then, they became little more than a blip on his radar before eventually fading into the dark recesses of his memory. As such, he was now reading his notes to refresh his memory. "Hey, why are you staring at a blank book?" A voice suddenly asked behind him as a tuft of pink hair entered his vision from above. "Doesn't that get boring?" "These might seem like blank pages to you," Atlas sighed. He had just read about Pinkie Pie's apparent physics-defying feats, and how he shouldn't question them, which seemingly summoned the pink menace. "But to me they hold much essential information." Are they written with invisible ink or something?" "Not quite. I just put a spell on this book so that only I could read its contents," Atlas replied while closing his book. It seemed like his private time was now over, whether he wanted it to be or not. It already caused quite a few problems when somebody else read it. "Could it be Hollowmane's private hiding spell you're talking about?" Twilight asked, slowly trotting over to the two. Seeing Pinkie making the first move must have made her think that it was okay to come over as well and ask all the questions she had. "Never heard of the pony," Atlas denied. "I made this spell myself over 1,000 years ago." "You made it yourself?" Twilight asked, reeling back a bit as she sat down opposite of Atlas. "But Hollowmane only made the spell public around 200 years ago. In my time I have created countless spells for my convenience, Twilight Sparkle," Atlas explained. "And only a handful of them made it out of my labs, most of them published under Star Swirl's name." Mentioning his name caused Atlas to remember what Celestia had told him yesterday. Truly a shame that he wasn't here today. "Countless spells?" Twilight mouthed in amazement. "But according to Celestia I ascended into a licornhood when I created new magic. How is it possible that you haven't ascended yet?" "Because Celestia lied to you," Atlas chuckled. "Just creating new magic isn't nearly enough to make a pony ascend, or how would you explain the fact that neither Star Swirl or any pony else that invented a spell ascended until you did? You should really stop blindly believing everything Celestia tells you." "But... no wait, that actually makes sense," Twilight muttered. "I can't believe I never questioned Celestia's words on this." "Wait. Does that mean that you know how the ascension process works?" "That, I definitely do," Atlas nodded. "After all it was me who caused Celestia and Luna to ascend." "Wow, that's really cool," Pinkie replied, at some point having sat down next to Atlas. Do you think I could ascend a cupcake to taste even better? Could you, maybe teach me how it works? Twilight asked tentatively, her and Atlas decidedly ignoring Pinky's nonsensical remark. Definitely not, Atlas denied harshly. Wouldn't want a bunch of alicorns running around because you mess up somehow. Alicorns are powerful entities, and if a villain could ascend all willy-nilly you might just be done for. Not even Celestia and Luna know the exact details on this, so that's probably why you didn't get the full truth from her as well. I suppose that makes sense, Twilight said, slightly dejected. To get back on topic, yes, I've used one of my original spells to make this book unreadable to others, and no, I won't tell you anything about its contents, no matter how much you beg me to. But I haven't even asked. I know you didn't, but I also know that you really want to, Atlas retorted. Point is, this book is dangerous by just existing, so it is my responsibility to make sure that no pony else gets their hooves on it. As if to prove his point, the book disappeared with a flash of light. He's right, you know. Pinky said in an unusually deep, but not unpleasant voice. So how much longer will it take for us to get to Ponyville? Atlas asked. I would really like to inspect the possible array locations as soon as possible. It shouldn't be much longer now, Twilight replied while taking a glance outside. Maybe 20 minutes at most. That's good to hear, Atlas nodded. Now, if you'll excuse me, I still have some reading to do before we arrive in Ponyville, and I'd rather not postpone this. I promise to try and make some time to answer some of the questions you have at a later point in time, but right now I'd really like to focus on getting this show on the road, if you don't mind. That's okay, Twilight replied. I'll come and get you once we arrive, then. If you need any help, I'm the best roadie you could imagine, so don't hesitate to ask, Pinky added. The two of them left their respective seats and went to rejoin the rest of their friends. Atlas looked after them for a few seconds, feeling a tinge of jealousy when he saw them interact with their friends. Shaking his head, he resummoned his book, opening it to where he had left off so he could finish the chapter pertaining to Ponyville. If everything went according to plan, he might just be able to simply relax for the first time since coming here, without having to chase some immediate goal. Thinking about this, a small smile graced Atlas's face, which didn't escape Pinky's notice. The train was starting to slow down a bit, causing Atlas to look up from his book. The landscape outside had become much more level since they had left Canterlot Mountain behind, and if he looked out the window across his aisle he could already see the first few houses that he assumed belonged to Ponyville. As if on cue, Atlas spotted Twilight making her way over to his seat, causing him to store his book into hammerspace once again. We're here, you'd best gather your belongings before leaving the train, lest you forget something important, Twilight said with a smile. Atlas took a quick sarcastic look around at all the personal belongings he didn't have, before looking back at Twilight with a raised eyebrow. I think I have everything, thanks for the reminder. That's good, Twilight said sheepishly. All right then, we better gather up near one of the doors then. Nodding, Atlas got up from his seat and followed Twilight towards the nearest exit where her friends were already waiting. They had entered Ponyville proper now, as could be easily seen by all the quaint houses zipping past the windows. It didn't take long for the train to come to a full stop at the village's only train station, and they spilled out onto the platform one by one. Welcome to Ponyville! Pinky shouted as soon as Atlas set foot on the platform, having exited the train last. She had procured a blue cannon from somewhere, blasting him with a plethora of confetti. Thank you, Atlas deadpanned, dusting confetti off himself. Oh, I just can't wait to throw your party. Pinky bounced around happily. It's gonna be ginormous, because I have to combine like 5 different parties for you together. I ask you to please put that party on hold, Atlas said with a sigh. While I would very much enjoy one of your parties, there are several infinitely more pressing matters than holding a party in my honor. Ah, but what could possibly be more important than a party? Making sure the world doesn't get destroyed. Yeah, that does sound pretty important. Pinky said while rubbing her chin with her hoof. Alright then, I'll wait, but be sure to tell me when it's okay as soon as you're ready. Anyway, even if it is postponed, there's still a lot of things that I have to go and prepare. See you later, alligator. After having vomited these words in just about 2.3 seconds, Pinky zoomed out of sight, presumably into the direction of Sugar Cube Corner. The rest of the elements and Atlas looked after her for a few seconds before Applejack cleared her throat. Well, it was mighty fine meeting ya, Atlas, but I gotta get back to my farm as well. Lots of work to do. Applejack shot him an apologetic smile. If there's anything me or my family can do to help you, just say so and we'll come running. Likewise, Rarity added. I must return post-haste to my boutique. Twilight knows where to find me should you need my help, or you could just send Spike over to come and fetch me. With those words, the duo left the station towards their respective workplaces. Fluttershy was the next to excuse herself, apparently having to go and feed her animals, but promised to rejoin them once she was done with her daily chores. I'll hang around for a while longer, Rainbow Dash said finally. Not like the weather needs much attention right now, and I might get to see something cool if I hang out with you, Atlas. I'm flattered, Atlas said while turning towards Twilight. Alright, so if you wouldn't mind, I'd very much like to go and check out that field behind your castle now. Sure thing, Twilight replied. I already informed Spike beforehand, and once we've finished dinner and a room will be ready for you in my castle. Thank you. Now, please lead the way, Atlas said, gesturing with his hoof for her to take the lead, when a loud pop interrupted them. Discord and Luna had suddenly appeared at the train station, looking around before locking onto Atlas's group. Ah, how lucky, we. It seems we made it in time. Luna commented idly to her sister as the two approached. Ah, come on. Atlas shouted exasperated. How come you two get to teleport all over the place while I had to take the train? We still had some things to take care of, so we had to stall you a bit until we were ready, Luna stated matter-of-factly. I do apologize for that. You know, I don't exactly need you to babysit me to fulfill my tasks, right? Atlas said with annoyance. We've wasted precious time. Yes, you might not think us completely necessary for these first few steps, but just imagine this, Luna said while rolling her eyes. You just come here, no pony knows who you are and you just up and level a huge space of land in Ponyville. I'm sure that will go over just swimmingly. Thus, the need arises for either my sister or I to be present to at least alleviate some of the citizens' concerns. Isn't Twilight a princess too? Atlas pointed out. Well, yes, Luna replied. But she has only recently been crowned, and she does not yet wield the necessary authority. She may be a well-known face around Ponyville, and the citizens here should trust her well enough, but we felt it still better for one of us to be present. Coincidentally, I'm just here to drop Luna off, Discord said from the sidelines. I'm about to head out and scout the array places at all the other towns. That's reassuring to know. Thanks, Discord, Atlas nodded. I assume you've received all of the specifics and requirements, right? That I did, Discord confirmed. I will make sure to find a suitable place at each location for you. Thanks, Atlas nodded. So Luna. Seeing as Discord had to drop you off here, is it safe to assume you can't even manage to teleport from Canterlot to Ponyville? I am afraid it is just so, Father, Luna said while avoiding Atlas's gaze. Weird, this much should be easy for you, seeing as you're an alicorn and all. Ah, you know, it's because, Luna faltered, it's because I've been banished to the moon for so long. My mana reserves have taken a great toll and haven't been completely restored yet. I wouldn't want to waste my mana just to get here if I could simply hitch a ride with dear Discord here. Atlas squinted his eyes at Luna, who was displaying a smile which couldn't have been more fake if she tried. He lit up his horn and ran a quick scan on Luna before nodding in self-satisfaction. Discord. Phone me. Coming right up. Discord said with a mischievous smile before snapping his talon, making a rectangular, black object appear in Atlas's outstretched hoof. Every pony aside from Discord was eyeing the object curiously, and watched as Atlas pressed what looked like a button on it for a few seconds, causing it to emit a strange sound. Siri, would you be so kind as to call bullshit for me? Calling bullshit, much to every pony's surprise, the object actually answered him back with Discord's voice. Atlas looked at Luna with a raised eyebrow, while the device was repeating a strange beeping sound a few times. Yes, this is bullshit speaking. Can we not do this right now? Luna asked with annoyance. Why, hello there old friend, Atlas said, ignoring Luna's plea. My daughter just told me that her mana pool hasn't recovered yet and that's why she couldn't do a small jump from Canterlot to Ponyville. Yeah, that sounds like bullshit all right. Thanks, mate, Atlas replied to the voice from the device before hanging up and throwing the thing over his shoulder, where it imploded on impact with the ground. There you have it. All right, Luna relented. I didn't practice teleportation as much as I should have. There, are you happy now? I'm sure Applejack would be more than happy upon hearing you speak the truth like that, Atlas nodded. All right, then. Now that I have sufficiently embarrassed my daughter for the first time in over a millennium, why don't we go and check out that field behind your castle, Twilight?
Sure.
Twilight replied slowly, not entirely understanding what just happened. Follow me. Twilight began to leave the station, her friends and Luna in tow, the latter still having an annoyed look on her face. Atlas and Discord made eye contact for a second before bursting out laughing. It's good to have you back, Discord, Atlas said after he calmed down a bit. But of course it is, Discord replied, equally as happy. It must have been dreadfully boring without me around to lighten up the mood every now and then. Truer words have never been spoken, Atlas nodded. Well, we better get back to saving the world. Agreed. Without missing a beat, Atlas jumped, giving his son a mid-air high five. Shortly after Discord disappeared with a flash, leaving behind Atlas as the lone occupant of the station. A smile still on his face as he made to follow the others. Author's note. Drawn by Aljdar, the Madman. Once again, thanks to my editor Scudalo FTW, as well as my proofreader Soren Mercer. Today's chapter was brought to you by this song. I guess. Come join us in the Discord channel. Lonk. Or the official Divine Entertainment Group. Divine Universe. End author's note.